I'm Brandon Roberts. This is the Pike County Report. I'm here with Pike County Judge Executive Wayne T. Rutherford and Judge. Um, this weekend we have something coming up I know is very dear to your heart and a lot of other people's, and that's the Shelby Railroad reunion.
Brandon, Shelby Railroad reunion is close to my heart, and my father was a railroader for 45 years, and of course I love railroading, and I'm a history buff when it comes to railroad. But several years ago, the Pike County Tourism Commission made this festival at Shelbyana a county festival. So this year it's coming up again, and we will certainly always have good attendance, and this year I'm sure we will have good. It's at the Grace Baptist Church up on the hill at Shelbyana. A very beautiful view overlooking Shelbyana and the R.H. Ratliff Cemetery over there. So it's open to the public. They can bring a dish and enjoy the day. And you know, we was blessed a year before last to have Dr. Terry Comer from Nashville, who had wrote the song Shelbyana, a love song really, and to have him come and play with the Blackberry Jam, who's coming back this year, and they will sing railroad songs, religious songs, and what's on Dr. Terry Comer's CD. But this is something that the railroad family comes back to Shelbyana, and comes back each year, and it's time for them to talk about the memories they built as they worked and raised their family in Shelbyana, Kentucky. And we always have people from many states that comes in every year, and especially from the Ashland and Arton, Ohio, and the West Virginia area, because people, when they promoted on the railroad, they promoted to the Ashland area. So we look for a large crowd, and this reunion was at Ashland, Kentucky for approximately 8 years, and now this year is the 15th year, and we've had it up here since the first 8 years was in the Ashland area. So, and what we started when we got it was giving a scholarship out, and now we match dollar per dollar if we need to with Bill Clark Enterprises. Bill is a very successful businessman who's raised at Shelby. I went to school with Bill. It's in grade school there. Close personal friends with him and his wife Joyce, Charles Clark. Joyce passed away with cancer a few years ago, and ever since then, Bill Clark and his daughter Pam Kirk have provided funding so that we could give scholarships out to children who have a connection to a railroad family. If their father, aunt, uncle, grandparents was a railroad worker, then we get Virgil Osborne, whose wife Ann was raised in Shelby, and Ann loved Shelby. She loved that. Ann passed away too, but she loved Shelby, its people, and of course the railroad family. So we will be giving away 3 scholarships this year. Virgil, I think they've been announced, but Virgil will present those checks to them, him and Bill Clark and Pam, and will present the checks to those young people. The committee that gives out the scholarships, of course, they have them write a resume. They give the history of their connection to the railroad family. And then, of course, they give, and we go through, Virgil Osborne goes through the counselors at the school, and it's the schools in the C&O, Chessie, CSX area, which is here in this part of Pike County and in Floyd County, and of course down to Ashland. They give the counselors the information, and the counselors then have them to write that and submits to the committee, and of course the committee then has a tough choice to make. This year we had 8. Then we require a minimum score on the SAT test or their score during their high school, while they're in high school. And we take a look at that. We require the schools to submit that, or them through the student to submit that to us along with the resume. So we had 8 to consider this year, and we also considered the need of what a parent. We had we had two. One got a 4.3. I'd never heard that. One had a 4.6. But mine always just went up to 4, in school. But what I knew about it. But we know that those children in school, those seniors, then we know they'd get a full scholarship. So we looked at the need also besides that, and it was a tough bid, but we did that, and it is. So the name of the scholarship is Joyce Charles Clark Scholarship, and that will be given out. But they will be a ceremony and we have a wall of fame at the Shelbyana Post Office that we got in when the Postal Department wanted to put something locally on display in the post office. So we the committee, the Railroad Committee, of which I'm the chairman or president of, we provided them with pictures that went in the lobby, and then we also have a board that has the pictures and the names of people that goes on the Hall of Fame. This year we're memorializing and honoring Terrell Coleman, a local businessman who was very successful in putting together. He was a railroader. Terrell loved the railroading, and as a matter of fact, he kept his rights to work on the railroad for many years after he put in Coleman Oil Company. And Terrell would get up at 4:30 every morning. His office for Coleman Oil was in Shelbyana, but he would go to the railroad restaurant every morning at 4:30 or 5, spend his breakfast eating time with the railroaders, and then he would go to work. His connection with the railroader, and Terrell was, family-wise, he was my uncle, but he was more than that. He was my mentor. I had the opportunity to be all over the country with Terrell in California. I remember taking a trip to California, an industrial development trip with Paul Patton in the 70s when he was chairman of the Industrial Commission for the county, and late Mars Allen May, who was state representative, and Terrell Coleman and myself, and Steve Friend, who was county planner at that time. We was on a recruiting trip to California. And then I had been to Washington, many trips with Terrell. Terrell was active. He was one of the first members of the Pike County Housing Authority. He was one of the first members also of the Pike County Airport Board when it became the Pike County Airport Board. It had been previously Pike County Airport Board. So Terrell contributed a lot. Matter of fact, when Coleman Oil got to its pinnacle, then Coleman Oil did a lot for their community. I can remember that on a holiday each year, on Thanksgiving, that they had a free lunch for everybody at the Pikeville Elementary School, and also anything going on in Pikeville that was good for the community or Pike County, you found Coleman Oil involved in it. So that one, and then the other one then was Charlie Potter. And Charlie Potter was a railroad detective, and I remember when I was a child, when I was raised in a railroad community, and I know that when we was growing up, we couldn't stay away from the railroad property, and sometimes we'd walk on the track, and Charlie was always nice, not to embarrass you, but he'd always call you off the side and whisper in your ear, now, Wayne, you and Freddie stay off that railroad track. I'll have to go tell your mother and dad, but I'm going to not do it this time. So we knew. And of course, all those years, and safety was one. And I know he would say, don't crawl under them cars. Now, I understand you fellas been crawling under these railroad cars while they're sitting stationary. Don't do that. That's the most dangerous thing you could do. So, but that is part of me growing up. That's my memory. But let me tell you what I remembered about Charlie Potter. He was a very respected gentleman in the community, a very dignified person. A person who was a great dresser. You saw him in a suit and a tie all the time. And he associated with people, good people in the community. He didn't get involved with anybody that he talked would bring a reflection upon him or his family. He was a family man. Besides that, he had a green thumb. Charlie Potter had a green thumb. Had the most beautiful garden up around Yeager, anywhere in this county, every year. But Charlie Potter was the type of, and I know in America we took these heroes from our sports, and we made them our heroes. Somebody like Charlie Potter ought to have been the one the young people looked up to and made heroes out of, because they would have had the right impression and the right guidance of life of Charlie Potter. Then we have three people who, when we came up here from Iceland with the Shelby Railroad reunion, then we didn't have many to help put it together, but we had Richard Lowe and his wife Lorraine, and then we had Ruth Bevins and Ruth Jackson, two sisters. And we had a very few others on the committee at that time. But these are the people that we thought we ought to honor this year. We've honored in the past few years many people very deserving who had contributed so much to Pike County and Kentucky and the country. But we felt like that we ought to certainly honor these three who had worked so hard. And I know that there was times that they were just 6 or 7 that did the actual work that had to be done to bring it together, and they was part of this group. So we're honoring them this year and putting them in the Hall of Fame, and I think it was appropriate for myself and the committee to do this. So we will start registering people about 9:30 on this coming Saturday, and then we'll have the ceremony of giving out the scholarships and bringing these people into the Hall of Fame inside the church. And George Sloan, and everybody that I'm sure that looking at us today, they know George Sloan from the printing office. George brings tears to everybody's eyes every year with with his railroad songs and the Mountain Railroad. And most of the time, George has to sing it twice for the crowd, but he does it a cappella, and it is absolutely beautiful. And ironically, that's the song that my father and most railroaders want played at their funeral. And so when I hear it, I can hardly keep from being teared up like everybody else. Railroaders are special people. The railroad family at Shelbyana, I was blessed to be raised in the railroad community and around the railroad, and worked on the railroad for a period of time. And kept my rights for a lot of years because I loved the railroad, even though my life took me in a different direction of public service. But I kept my rights, gosh, up in 1982, and I went into office first time in 1980. But instead of going back to the railroad, which I stood for a job, could have marked back up, I became Deputy Secretary of the Department of Human Resources and went to Frankfort for a period of time, and then President of Mountain Truckers Association in Frankfort and Pikeville, and then back into public service in office here. But this Saturday about 9:30 and hopefully about 10:30 we'll get started in the church, and then we're going to make that as short as we can at this ceremony inside, because people like to talk. What they come to reunions for is to talk among themselves about memories they built as they were growing up, as they worked in the community, and as they worked through the railroad families. So it is a great day for us, a great day for Pike County. We expect a large, and we always have a large people. I know when we brought it up here from Iceland, said you all take it one year and we'll take it back. Well, we had the largest crowd up here that year than they ever had in Iceland in 7 years, so they never would take it back. So that's one reason we're honoring these three people on here with the rest of the committee, because there was just very few of us that did the yeoman's work and made this happen and made it become a county festival, second only to, of course, our Hillbilly Days here, which is the second largest festival in Kentucky. But we want the people, they can bring a dish, they can come out. It is for people that worked in Shelbyana that had a relationship with the railroad family, and of course those who worked on the railroad directly. They certainly want to come. They'll be able to see people a lot of times that they hadn't seen in years, and they'll be here from several states. And a lot of people put that on their calendar every year on their vacation to come in at this time so they can be with their families and their friends.
Well, Judge, switching gears a little bit, anyone who works, lives, or has even driven through Pikeville in the past several months have bound to have noticed the large construction project taking place on the corner over here.
Brandon, I've said in the last few months, I read in the paper, if you go to China and you want to know what progressive area you are in China, and you know China is not a developed country, so it's only developed in pockets. You look at the cranes. So we've been blessed in this county with us in a very deep national recession to be able to look around us and see all these cranes up in the air. And of course, you see the crane down here at the Judicial Building, and then over to the Pikeville, University of Pikeville, look at their medical building, the crane. You go right over here at the hospital, and there was 2 cranes over there recently, way up in the air. Then you drive up Shelby Creek, and you see 2 cranes up there where the intersection is under construction. And as you move on throughout Pike County, you see a lot of projects already underway. So yes, we've been blessed. But the Judicial Building, and I've said this too in the past, and I said it to the Chief Justice the other day in a meeting in Frankfort with Bobby Brandon and myself, was down and had an opportunity to meet with the Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court and to give him an update on our judicial project. I told him that the long suffering that our judicial officials, our circuit judges, our district judges, all of the circuit court clerk's office, all of their staffs have had to live with the last several years. We are certainly glad that we was able to be part of bringing a judicial building to Pikeville and Pike County into eastern Kentucky. We have probably the 3rd largest building under construction in the Commonwealth. It's about 98,000 square feet. Relating it to the Expo Center, it's about I think it's about 112 square feet. So it's a very large building. I'm chairman of the committee, and the committee is very active committee. We probe everything. We ask a lot of questions. But under this, we was able to get this, but the committee was for building it on the river field over here. But the state finally told us, no, we're not going to let you build it over there. You have to go to Main Street. Well, we as a committee, and I don't blame the people, we was upset that they told us that they moved the 33 million is what this is. The contract, I think, is 30 point something on this that the construction company has, and Codell Construction, which is a great construction manager, have got it, and I'm sure they'll be on schedule. The Codell is always on schedule on all of their projects. So I think that contract was out, and I believe it should be done by, is it November of this year or December, the first of the year, first of the year, that this building will be complete. Then they will have offices. The jurors that had to come and serve in this Hall of Justice building behind the county courthouse here if you had a jury in Judge Coleman's court, you had to rotate out in the hall. They'd call up 12 at a time because you got, I think, 32 or something like that to start a case. But they'd have to go out in the halls then. And the courtrooms were too small. The buildings the building wasn't constructed properly. And I relayed that on to Chief Justice. Matter of fact, that was the first building that the state had built in this Commonwealth under the system they have now, the Office of the Courts. So that building, of course, will come back to us. It's not in good shape. It's going to have a lot of remodeling in the future over there for us to even use it. The building down the street, and of course you can look at it on your television screen. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful building. And we are a green county. We are the #1 producer of coal in Kentucky, #1 producer of natural gas in Kentucky, and we are America's energy capital. But we're also, our goal is to be a green county. Now to do that, this committee decided we wanted to LEED, L-E-E-D, a LEED designation as being a green building. And we understand, I know we had some subsurface problems over there, and we couldn't do the geothermal, but I've been assured by the architect that we're going to be a LEED building. We're going to be a green building. So that that is great, but what it's going to do for this area of eastern Kentucky, and especially Pike County and Pikeville, is we're going to have a building that's going to last for many, many years. It's going to be a beautiful building, as you can observe as you look at it. If you look at it, the footprint on this property down here, it is huge. It goes up in there. I think it's 4 stories. It has the best security systems in the country for our court system that you can have. That's off the state of art, off the shelf. So it will add to it. And if you look at the picture that's on your screen for you, you'll see that this judicial building, and I know that the architect firm, they've done a great job, and they did a great job when this committee said go out and bring us something to look at. But when they brought it to us, we didn't feel like it had in the city of Pikeville that it fit in with our present city that we had. And we asked to go back. We said, when you leave here today, would you go out in town and take pictures around town? And then when you do that, come back to us with a recommendation of using your architecture ability that your great firm has. Sherman, Barnhart, and Carter from Lexington, who has designed some great buildings in the Commonwealth. So when they came back, Brandon, it was amazing what they had. The windows in the courthouse, there they were in the building. And then when you look at the front of the building, like the post office up the street, and you have the round circle, there it was on that. And then when you look at the top of it, the top of the building, there was the steeple on the federal building right on top of it. So they had in the middle of this picture, where now that they come out to the street, where the original one went back in, they brought that out to the street. So what a beautiful building, and what an addition this is going to be to our judicial system. And I'm sure that it will, once this building is built, we've asked the architect, the committee has, we've had to remove, especially all the buildings, the old Pinson Hotel. We want something to put in the lobby as a memory to that family, the Pinson family and the Pinson Hotel, and what it meant to Pikeville, with pictures. And also the Cottle building, the oldest building, one of the oldest buildings in Pikeville, that building, and the Christman building, where Christman Insurance occupies upstairs. Hal's Drugstore used to be downstairs. On the corner, those are the 2 oldest buildings in Pikeville, other than a part of this original part of the old Pike County Courthouse, which we're sitting in here today. So that building, and we've told them that we want that put in the corridor as you come into this great, beautiful building that we're going to have once this construction is completed. So we'll be able to honor the past and also to look to the future years and provide our judicial system. And we didn't want this $33 million, and we were just told, you either move it to Main Street or we'll put it in another city and county. So certainly we said we want that here with the top building that we had there.
Judge, some time ago I issued a news release about the Pikeville, Pike County Airport extending a road. At the time, and I'll admit, it didn't seem very, important. The other day I had a chance to go up there and visit, and it's one of the most amazing transformations I've seen this quickly.
It's a hidden treasure, as you would say, for this county. You know, as we develop this city and this county, as the city officials and the county officials and the community, and even with us, with our ideal board, as we develop this county, as we provide jobs for our young people, where they can get an education, come back home and get married, raise a family here. One of the best tools that we have in our toolbox, our economic development toolbox, for Charles Carlton and the Economic Development Board to use, is an airport. That's the most important thing and top of the list usually when we're trying to recruit companies in here. When we were getting EQT to come in, that's one of the things that they asked, what are we going to do in the future with the airport? With the University of Pikeville, with our East Kentucky Expedition Center, with people coming in, with all the people that we have. And I know that in the last few months we've had people here visiting county government, Charles Carlton's office and mine from Colombia, South America, and from the third largest gold mine also in the world, was here the next week in Pike County. And we've had people in from many states, but they're always inquiring, what about your airport in the future? Well, what you observed the other day when you went up there is getting the second runway back in operation. You're aware when they built the road up to the airport, you went up and you hit a hill. They didn't go on through the mountain as you district stated. You thought it was a small project that you're just going to knock a hole through that hill and go off into Johns Creek and go down. What happened? The state ran out of money, and they built it up to there and they stopped. Then it was in the 6-year plan, and then some way, once it got taken out of the 6-year plan and the money for the road from there down to Johns Creek was removed and probably moved somewhere else where the state thought it was more needed at that time. But the bridge down at Johns Creek was left in, and the bridge was contract was let, it was built, and it's used. We was across it the other day. You was with me, the new bridge. So the airport, to get that runway to, when they blocked that mountain off, then they had to go up to the airport. They had to close one of the runways, and you had to cross that runway, go over down the hill, and hit the road on the other side of the mountain, and head down Johns Creek. So what we worked to get, and I'm talking about the airport board, I'm talking about Mr. DeBourbon, and I'm talking about the new chairman, William Hickman. Then we began working with it's a Pike County Airport Board, with the city officials, with Donovan Blackman, the city manager, the mayor, and them, and all of us working together, pulling together to get that runway back open, because we had worked with the Chamber of Commerce, with the city, and with the county of trying to get our service into our airport to put that other tool that in the economic development toolbox, so we could work to attract jobs to come in to Pikeville, Pike County, in eastern Kentucky. So that's what's going on up there. That contract was near $1 million. You know, when you first, probably your news release went out, and if to go through the hill, you'd probably think it was 250,000, 300,000. But no, they're taking a mountain down up there, as you observed, and as they have pictures that you'll see here on the screen. They'll have the pictures of that, and people certainly will be surprised when you see these pictures of what's going on at your Pike County Airport Board. So that is a great addition. It's something that we have to have in this county and in this city. And it shows you how your community works together, how your county governments, your city governments, your Chamber of Commerce, and your community leaders come together to get development. And we was able to put that funding package together, get it let, but it goes from the federal to the state to the county to the city to the community, everybody having to work together. You know that our state Senator Ray Jones and Leslie Combs, our state representative, and Representative W. Keith Hall and Representative Hubert Collins, they had to be involved in this to get that road put back on the 6-year plan in the legislature, and also to get funding. Then the governor of the Commonwealth, we started when Governor Fletcher was in, but we ended up with Governor Beshear to work with his administration. I can remember sitting and having dinner with the Aeronautics Commissioner of Kentucky, talking to him about this airport that we got here, and letting him reassure me of what I thought of how important the airport is to an area in this Commonwealth. So we are elated that this airport and this board the airport board is an active board, and I'm proud of the actions that this airport board has taken, not only with this, but this airport board has taken to make Marion's Branch, of which they had control over, so that the city of Pikeville, which was landlocked, would have someplace to expand. So that's another hidden treasure that you got, and it's right here it's in the city limits of Pikeville. It is an area that was designated as an airport back in the 70s, and by the state of Kentucky, the Aeronautics Commissioner. And then 4 years later, after we had let coal contracts to mine coal, and also had the East Kentucky SEP program out of Hazard, doing a training program up there on heavy equipment. So then they pulled the rug out from under and said, you can't build an airport there. So then we backed up and punted again, found a location down where the airport is now, and we built it there. To retain that property up there for future development, I took off and got on a plane and went to Washington and saw Congressman Carl Perkins at that time and Senator John Sherman Cooper, and we met. And I can remember that meeting. A young man came in with an attaché case, and Congressman Perkins said, "Now, what agency are you with?" He said, "Oh, I'm over in the federal office of aeronautics." And he said, "Do you make decisions in that department?" He said, "No, I don't." And Congressman Perkins said, "Just a minute." He called the Secretary of Transportation of the United States and said, "Mr. Secretary, please come over to this meeting yourself or send somebody who makes decisions. Senator Cooper and I are waiting with Judge Rutherford to talk to you about the Pike County Airport." So I can remember even that in back history. With me that time was the members of the Pike County Airport Commission at that meeting, and Erdl Whitt and Freddie Baker, John Paul Runyons was chairman at that time, and now here we are all these years later. But this property I was talking about at Murray's Branch was under control of this board, and they worked it out and got the appraisal on the property undeveloped, and the city was able finally to pay the airport board and to under the federal code, to comply with the federal code and Kentucky statute, and then to take this property. And that is another hidden jewel here besides the airport board. But I know you were surprised when you went up there with me across, and then when you went back the other day, you got a real picture of it.
And speaking of hidden treasures, Judge, we have a national award-winning methane flare at the landfill, which I'd say very few people have even seen.
Let me say this: Pike County and Pikeville, on about anything you look at in development, is in the forefront in Kentucky. I mean, there's no doubt. There are 25 counties listed as impoverished counties by the Appalachian Regional Commission as distressed counties. You know that my administration and the administration at the city of Pikeville, that we've been removed from that list, and we're no longer listed as impoverished county, because we are the most progressive county in Central Appalachia and city in Central Appalachia. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
I believe there's 420 counties in the ARC. 10 moved up a category. We were the only one in Eastern Kentucky.
We're the only one for Eastern Kentucky that moved up. So yes, we are a different county, and the flare. We've had a landfill over there. We have the only licensed landfill in Eastern Kentucky. And I'm going to repeat that again. People won't believe that. We have the only licensed landfill in Eastern Kentucky. The closest landfill we have to us is on the Carter-Boyd County line and at London, Kentucky. We got the only licensed landfill. So we've been over there 21 years, I believe. And you know, methane is dangerous. That's what killed the 29 miners in West Virginia. But if you harness that, it can be a byproduct that can be used for good. So that's simply what we tried to do. With your landfill, if you have your fossil fuel, that is anything green, anything of vegetation that's made from anything green, and put in that landfill, then it starts working and giving off methane gas. We hired a company, and I'm trying to think what the name of the company was that put the wells in over there.
Shaw Enterprises.
Shaw Enterprises was the one that got the contract, and it was a very large contract, and I think they put 13 wells in, so that we could harness that and use it for something good. And we're one of the 3 counties in Kentucky that has done that with their landfills. And what we've done, we've not only satisfied with flaring off this toxic, the most toxic carbon, CO2 going into the atmosphere, is methane. We now are flaring it off and burning it. I mean, you can look at your screen and you can see the fire coming out of it. It's over there. It's lit about 3 months ago. But we didn't stop there. We've worked with Charles Carlton and I and everybody involved, the Economic Development Board, the Ideal Board, and others. But we want to use it for good. So what we've done, we went and got a company, Dr. Steve Cox, a professor at Virginia Tech. He has a company, and the name of that company, I believe, I'm trying to think of the name of it.
I think it's
it is the
Green Energy
KW. Green Energy KW that we're working with, and they're going to take that, instead of burning this methane, they're going to use it to produce electric power. Now we've met with the Kentucky Power Company. Charles Carlton has met with them in their Frankfort office, and we met with them the other day down to the AEP offices and Kentucky Power Company offices here on the North Mayo Trail at Pikeville. And we're working with them for a trade-off to put smart meters in here at the courthouse and in some of the buildings, and we will get credit for what we put into the grid by using this methane to make electric power with. Then we didn't stop there. This county, and I think it's about 300 kilowatts that this plant, and it is I got tickled in talking to Dr. Steve Cox. This company is using American-made products. The big engine that goes in over there is a Ford engine, and it's going to make 300 kilowatts. Then we're going to go and sell carbon credits. We're not going to the Chicago market because they don't pay as much. We're going to use the California market. Then the county can receive some income from the carbon credits. Well, the utility bills for the county building will come down. The taxpayers of the county, with the budget situation the way it is, our utility bills will come down. So it took a lot of work and a lot of trips on Charles Carlson's part and his staff, Susan Marr presently, and their hard work that's made this to come to fruition. But the flare is over there, flaring it off, killing that toxic going into the atmosphere. That goes again, Brandon, talking about a green county. Here we are, a county in the largest co-producing county in Kentucky. If we were a state, we'd be 10th in co-production in America. But here we are, a green county, and producing coal, and have to put up with this junk that the liberal press puts out all over this country and attacking the coal industry, who keeps our lights on in America. I'm not going to get that. That's for another program. But
we're also, Judge, a step or two ahead of the EPA with this flare, who I believe, if not soon or maybe already have, made it mandatory.
What we've done, I think it's by 2015, I'm saying that just off the top of my head, the Congress has passed an act that the federal EPA will start governing your landfill, and is going to require this. So we as usual in Pikeville and Pike County are ahead about anything that we have. We have our dreams, we have our visions, and we want to do what is right to make it a better place for tomorrow. And when we've done that, we found out we've been ahead of the game on about anything that Washington does or Frankfurt does or anybody else does. We here have the ability, and Governor Patton has said this, and I enjoy every time he speaks at a graduation of young people. And he tells them that we can do anything we want to do here in Eastern Kentucky. We have the smartest people here in East Kentucky, as smart as anybody anywhere in the world. And we've accomplished so much. And the leadership, as Governor Patton said, has been in place and is in place, and that's the reason you got such a progressive county government and city government you have.
You mentioned about Charles Carlton making a lot of trips. I don't think there's anywhere in the county he's made more trips to than Scott Fort to the EQT side.
No, that's probably if somebody wanted to write a book, you could write a book on Scott Fort of what we as a county government and as the ideal board, as an industrial board, faced trying to get to bring the third largest natural gas producer in America's regional headquarters to Pike County, to provide 100 new jobs, paying $23.83 per hour. If you round that out, it goes around $50,000. The problems that we had, that we again had to rely on the federal government, state government, county government, city government, chamber, the community, the ideal board, and everybody working together to try to make it happen. What a job it has been. We've had to go to Washington. We've had to make trip after trip to Frankfurt. We have had to have meetings after meetings after meetings here in Pikeville. Every time seemed like we would get ready to start construction, a roadblock would show up in front of us. But we always had faith that we was moving in the right direction, and we kept on plugging. It even got to the point that I told the present governor of the Commonwealth on a telephone conversation once, Governor, the people of Kentucky elected you to be governor, and you need to be governor. You need to talk to your bureaucrats and your state agencies, who every time we're getting ready to start construction on to bring 100 jobs into this state, which you support, they put a roadblock in it. And then we had to bring in the Federal Highway Administration. We had to go to Hal Rogers, our congressman, and his staff, Bob Mitchell, and others. And we had the last step we had to take was we had to have a directive come from Washington to the Federal Highway Administration office to go over there and work this thing out so that project can start. So finally, we got the project started. It's a $13 million contract. Contract was let to Prairie Construction from a company up and that done work for EQT before. They're a West Virginia company, I understand, and have done a lot of work in West Virginia and Pennsylvania for EQT. EQT used to be Equitable Gas. They changed their name about the time they announced they was coming into Eastern Kentucky with their regional headquarters. We got 6,000 plus natural gas wells in Pike County alone. We produce 53% of the natural gas in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. What does that mean? We produce more natural gas than all the other 119 counties in this Commonwealth. Imagine that, in this one county. 6,000 plus natural gas wells. Trillions of cubic feet of natural gas has flowed out of this county. So we are truly America's energy capital, is Pike County, Kentucky.
Judge, we also got notified recently that money had been made available to build the interior road up to the Scott Fort side.
You know, and that was good news too. Now, as I said, it starts with the federal government working, state government, county government, city government, chamber people, community, all of us working together. So sure, that's exactly what happened in regard to what you just stated. That everybody worked together and we ended up getting the job done. Then we had to get money appropriated. The state, when we read their memorandum of understanding with EQT, they had in it not only $2.5 million of tax credit, but it stated in writing they didn't get those $2.5 million tax credits, Brandon, until they hired new employees. Further, it said the state would make available whatever money it took to do the interior roads. When the state condemned the property and got the property, then they landlocked some property behind it so they had purchased the coal from, so they had to build a road that went from this park to serve the property behind it where coal had been mined, and it left property for the private property owners to develop. So we got notice, as you said the other day, that money was available, and we'll be letting a contract within the next few days to build a road in. We'll have to build a new road in, and you see the pictures here of the narrow road going into the park presently. We'll have to build an industrial type road because EQT not only has this beautiful building, and you can see the picture on your screen of this beautiful building, but they also have a production building next to it. Now, we was over there this past week. You saw it coming out of the ground, the foundation, and there are pictures here of that. But right next to it, and we saw where they had dug the hole for the elevator. When we talked to the contractor on the job, I remember what he said, that, okay, we looked at the drawings, and he said, look, this goes up another floor. And he smiled and said, they're going up another floor. Back about 7 or 8 months ago, I did have a discussion on the telephone with Pittsburgh, with EQT's office, and Charles Carlton and I did, and they talked about hiring more employees and having more room over there. So that's come to fruition. So that will be a larger building. Then we will have the adequate road in there to serve that. So that park is yet to be developed with Scott Fork. This is the first thing. We're working of compressed natural gas station over there. We're working with a major coal company who has talked to myself and Charles Carlton and others and the Ideal Board about the chairman Kitty Polly and others, members of that board. And the Ideal Board is something that we have to work with, we must work with, and are going to work with, and keep in place. And Kitty Polly, Kitty Polly Baird, is the lady who's chairman of that, and it is she does a magnificent job, as you know, Brandon. She's always willing to work with us. And then she has on that board, look what a board that she has. She has on that board John Elliott, and John Elliott's been in the natural gas business, his family, for years. He's dedicated to this area and wants to bring jobs in, wants our young people to stay here. Then you have the former Governor Paul Patton, who is president of University of Pikeville. And Paul Patton didn't have to take this appointment on that board because when he took the president's Pikeville College and took it. But he said he wanted to give back to his community. Not only did he want to keep that, he wanted to keep the Bezrita Board appointment, where Pike County owns 25% of an industrial park in Martin County. And he kept that. He said he wanted that appointment, and he's on that board, representing Pikeville and Pike County and the people of Pike County. Then we had Frank Belter, the manager of juries, a young man that worked his way through college and has been manager of jury for many, many years. A family of hard-working people, coal miners, who went under the boughs of these hills and kept people's lights on. Frank's on that. Frank wants nothing no more than better for his children and grandchildren, like the other people on this board. You had Lyle Blackman. Lyle Blackman served a term as magistrate of Pike County. But beyond that, he is involved in the community, wanting a better Pike County. And then you have the other member of the board was Marvin Hensley. Look at Marvin Hensley, a young man, graduates from college, comes to Pike County as an extension agent. And he looks around Pikeville and he starts seeing dilapidated properties. He starts buying that property, and himself and others that he would get to help him, he starts rebuilding this property until he became one of the biggest property owners in the Pikeville area, and now has a real estate firm. He too wanted to give back. So Brandon, we work hand in hand and toe with this ideal board. The same as we work with the city, their industrial development folks, and the same as we work with the state offices. We know Charles Carlson, I know and Bobby Branham and John Doug Hayes and Brandon. We know all the people in the governor's office. We know all the secretary, not only this administration, but the other administration that was there since we've been here. And we work closely with them. And I know, and I say this, that the country knows, America knows where Pike County, Kentucky is America's energy capital. And the Lord has blessed us. We can do nothing. I've said before that I represent a great people and a mighty God. And just thankful that He has given us the wisdom, the leaders of Pikeville and Pike County and the community, that we have the desire to make this a better place in the future and make our tomorrows better. And we've just talked about a few things today that's going on in this great county of ours. And we're glad to have Pike TV, and glad to have their efficient staff, and as we look for that to grow into a channel so that government will be completely transparent. You know, they can't believe it when I go to these meetings around Kentucky and the country, and we talk about that our court meetings are carried live. You know, they'll say carried live, yeah, but they are, and we're transparent into that. And so, but we're going to be more transparent, and as Pike TV builds up, and we're just fortunate to have this tool to come into people's homes and let them know what's going up in their county. We're the largest county in Kentucky, 1,200 miles of roads. And look at we serve 33,000 homes. We pick garbage up at homes and businesses in this county. What a magnificent bunch of dedicated employees we have in solid waste who can transgress these roads that they have to, and up and down these creeks and hollows. And we've just been blessed, and we've relied on coal severance tax in the past, but that is fading. Now we're having to look for other revenues. And I think in the next few months, we'll get new revenue to take the place of our severance tax, since the Obama administration's EPA has attacked the coal industry and we can't produce coal, and our severance tax is fading away for development. So we got to keep this engine moving and on the track, and we got to have the support of the people out in the county to do that. And we had only asked for a 1% tax, and it was a payroll tax, and that won't put a burden on anybody on a pension, anybody on Social Security if you're handicapped, disabled. If you live in Pikeville, Coal Run, or Elkhorn City, you wouldn't pay it. So it's only 1%, and that's not much to invest in your tomorrows. So people need to understand that. I didn't ask for that because I wanted it. I asked for it because we need it for the people of this county and for future development, so that we can have revenue to help build this county. And even during this national recession, $550 million of jobs, of projects that's been bid and is out in this county. Plus, you have your Board of Education putting their $50 million package together to consolidate the rest of our schools in the county. Future is bright in this city and in this county. But to do that, we have to have the revenue to do it with, and I'll be working with the magistrates to convince them. They was convinced. They had indicated to me that that's the direction the county had to go in. I proposed it as a balanced budget for the county, which I had to do under the Kentucky statute. I balanced this county's budget by using a payroll tax. The chief executive of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Governor Beshear, balanced the state budget, if you remember, Brandon, with a gaming tax. So you have to you have to, if you're a chief executive, present a balanced budget. I did that and had the support of the fiscal court when I did it, and then when it got down to second reading, they faded away. I think, and I know, like our magistrate Harris said, is to be realistic, we're going to have additional revenue in the future. So I think that we're going to be able to convince the magistrate, the people out there need to understand that you've got to have revenue if we're going to divorce and, if we're going to develop Pike County and have a place for our young people that's born here to get an education and to go get a college education, get married, but have a good job, give them the opportunity to raise their family in the most beautiful place in the world that God gave us, and that's in these beautiful mountains of eastern Kentucky.
Thank you, Judge.